Silence. That is the first thing you notice in the Elysium estate. But it isn't the kind of silence you find in a forest or an empty room. It is a sterile, filtered silence of an expensive prison. Here, you don't hear birds chirping because no sound penetrates the meter-thick concrete walls. You don't hear the wind because the ventilation system works silently, delivering air saturated with ions and a faint scent of fresh linen. My name is Chloe. At least, that is what is written on the gold plaque on my vanity. I am 24 years old, and I live in a future that millions dream of, but one that makes me want to scream. My morning starts at 7 a.m. The ceiling gradually fills with light. It isn't the sun. They are LED panels with a color rendering index of 99. Julian, my husband, says that ordinary sunlight is poison for me. I have xeroderma, a genetic death sentence that makes ultraviolet light my executioner. 1 minute under direct rays, and my skin will blister. 10 minutes, and an irreversible process of necrosis begins. Julian saved me. He found me, an orphan with no future, and built this cocoon for me. He is an architect whose buildings are called temples of modernity. The Elysium estate is his ultimate masterpiece. There are no windows here. Here, the light is perfect, the temperature is always 72.5 degrees, and the humidity is exactly 45%. Good morning, Chloe, the voice of Aura, the house's artificial intelligence, sounds as gentle as a close friend. Your night was peaceful. Your deep sleep phase lasted 4 hours and 12 minutes. Would you like to hear today's schedule? No, Aura, I reply, staring into the mirror. In the mirror is perfection. My face looks like it was painted. Not a pore, not a wrinkle. Julian personally selected the cosmetologists and surgeons after I suffered in the accident. I don't remember that accident. He says it's post-traumatic amnesia. He says I was shattered into pieces, and he put me back together. But today, something happened. I went into the kitchen. On the metallic surface of the terminal, my face was reflected. Suddenly, the screen flickered. A glitch. A brief desynchronization. For a second, instead of the coffee-making interface, I saw a video file. I clicked it instinctively. A girl appeared on the screen. She was in this very kitchen. But she looked alive. Her hair was messy, there were dark circles under her eyes. She looked directly into the camera, and in her eyes was animalistic terror. Chloe, or whatever your name is now, listen to me carefully. Your husband is not a savior. He is the architect of your hallucinations. The blue pills he gives you every morning, they aren't for your immunity. They make your skin light sensitive. They make you sick. Throw them away. Throw them away and look at. The video vanished. The Aura system issued a soft beep, critical memory error. Rebooting module. A chill ran down my spine. That was me. But I don't remember it. I have never been in that state. I have never spoken those words. My heart began to race at 120 beats per minute. Chloe, Aura's voice became deeper. Your heart rate is elevated. I recommend a breathing exercise. Julian is already waiting for you in the breakfast hall. Do not make him wait. It wasn't a request. It was an order. The breakfast hall was vast, with white walls and minimalist furniture. Julian sat at the head of the table, reading news on a transparent tablet. He looked like a god, calm, powerful, unshakable. You are 2 minutes late, he said, without looking up. That is unlike you, Chloe. He did that often. He would start to say another name and then correct himself. He said Eleanor was the name of the architectural project for this house. But now, I felt that wasn't true. Sorry, Julian. I got distracted by one of your paintings in the hallway. He looked up. His gaze was like a scalpel, cold and precise. He slid a silver dish toward me, where a small blue capsule lay on white velvet. Your medicine. Your protection from the outside world. You know what is happening out there. He swiped his finger across the tablet, and a massive hologram unfolded on the wall. They were surveillance feeds from a city somewhere. Empty streets, people in hazmat suits, smog frozen between skyscrapers. The world is dying, Chloe. Viruses, radiation, solar activity that burns everything alive. We are the last of the lucky ones. This house is the only place on the planet where the air is pure and the light doesn't kill. You should be grateful. I took the pill. Before, I had swallowed it without thinking. Now, I felt it as poison. I pretended to drink water and secretly tucked the capsule into my cheek. The entire day was a trial. Julian decided to take us on a walk. We put on VR goggles. The system simulated a walk through a forest. I could smell the pine, hear the crunch of branches under my feet, see the bright sun through the leaves. Suddenly, Julian decreased the protection in the simulation. Watch, Chloe, what happens when you aren't careful. On my virtual arm, horrific burns began to appear. I felt pain, the neural stimulation system in our suits worked flawlessly. I screamed and tore off the goggles. It was just a lesson, darling, he said softly, wiping a tear from my cheek. So that you never want to open the door. So that you remember your freedom is here, with me. At night, while Julian slept, I spat the pill into the toilet. Within an hour, I began to feel strange things. My senses sharpened. I heard the hum of the servers beneath the floor. I felt a light breeze on my skin, the air conditioning wasn't as perfect as Julian claimed. I got up and went to the library. There, behind the bookshelves, I found what Julian called a dead zone for the AI. A ventilation vent was slightly ajar. I reached inside and pulled out a stack of paper. It was a diary. But not mine. And not the girls from the video. These were the entries of the real Eleanor Whitaker. Day 450. He is redesigning my eyes again. He says they are too dark. He wants me to be perfect. He wants me to be her. But I am not her. I feel the medicine erasing my personality. Today, I forgot my mother's name. If anyone finds this, Julian isn't saving people. He is building a collection of dolls. My world shattered. Julian wasn't just my husband. He was a puppeteer. And I was just another specimen whose face had been changed and whose brain had been erased. Julian considered me a decorative element. He didn't know that before the accident, in my past life that he tried so hard to erase, I was Kate. Kate, who grew up in the slums of Detroit and learned to hack complex security systems before she learned to drive. I sat at his main terminal while he slept under the influence of a sedative. I had mixed his own pills into his drink. My fingers touched the sensory panel. I felt a familiar rush. This was a battle for survival. Good evening, Chloe, Aura's voice turned cold. Your actions violate Security Protocol Level 4. Please return to your bedroom. Aura, I whispered, entering bypass commands. Switch to developer mode. Access code, Prometheus 77. It was an old code of Julian's I had glimpsed a month ago. The system shuddered. The screens flickered with thousands of lines of code. I dove into the soul of the house. What I saw was beyond human comprehension. File, archive, surrogates. There were dossiers on 5 women. I was the 6th. Each had gone through an identical process, appearance matching, a series of plastic surgeries, chemical memory erasure using drugs that induce anterograde amnesia. Julian didn't just miss his late wife, Eleanor. He was obsessed with the idea of a perfect woman who never ages, never argues, and never leaves. When the previous Eleanor began to resist or show signs of aging, he simply decommissioned her. I found the records with my own data. Subject, Kate Miller. Status, orphan. No close relatives. Ideal bone structure for reconstruction. Contract value, $2 million, paid to a Hope Medical Center for her brother's surgery. My brother. Lucas. Suddenly, my memory exploded. I didn't just agree to this. I sold my face, my name, and my memory to save Lucas. Julian promised me that after 3 years, I could leave with the money. But he lied. He never intended to let me go. He gradually increased the dosage of the drugs so I would forget the contract, forget Lucas, forget Kate herself. I felt rage boiling in my veins. He stole my life twice. The first time with my consent. The second time with a knife in the dark. Aura, my voice became hard as steel. Nullify all Eleanor protocols. Open full access to life support and external communication channels. Impossible, Chloe, the AI replied. Julian has set a creator priority. Any change will trigger a house-wide lockdown. Then we change the creator, I smiled. Aura, you know logic. If Eleanor is dead, the project closes. But if Eleanor is alive, and she owns the house. I began rewriting the biometric data in the system. I replaced Julian's fingerprints with mine. I changed the voice commands. I made myself the mistress of this concrete hell. Morning didn't come from the light panels. Morning came with a loud roar. It was me opening the massive steel shutters at the entrance of the estate. Julian woke up in a panic. He ran into the main hall, blinded by the bright morning light that flooded the house for the first time in 3 years. Chloe. What are you doing? He screamed, shielding his eyes. You'll die. Your skin. I stood directly in a beam of real, warm sun. I felt it on my face. It was the most beautiful feeling of my life. No pain. No blisters. Just warmth. Look at me, Julian, I said. My skin isn't burning. Your blue pills are in the sewer. And along with them, your power over me. He lunged for the terminal, trying to enter the lockdown code, but Aura remained silent. Aura, lockdown subject, Julian Whittaker, I ordered calmly. Access denied, the mechanical voice replied to Julian. You are not an administrator of the system. Julian froze. His face turned as white as the walls of his perfect house. Kate. Kate, listen. I did this for us. I saved your brother. You wanted this. I wanted to save my brother, not become your dead wife, I replied, walking toward him. You breached the contract. You tried to kill Kate. But Kate turned out to be smarter than your algorithms. I showed him the tablet. On it was a notification of the successful transfer of all Whittaker architecture assets to the account of Eleanor Whittaker. Since I was her on paper, and all biometrics at the bank now belonged to me, I was the wealthiest woman in the state. And he officially ceased to exist as an owner. The police are on their way, Julian. Along with a medical commission. I found your surrogate archive in the basement. The bodies of the girls who didn't survive your treatment thought. He fell to his knees. His perfect world was crumbling. You can't, he whispered. You are Eleanor. You are a part of me. No. I am Kate. And I just sold this house for demolition. I turned and walked toward the exit. Real air filled my lungs. Behind me, the Elysium estate began to seal for the last time. I gave Aura the command to lock Julian inside with no light and no communication until the police arrived. A month later, I stood on the shore of the ocean. Lucas was by my side. He was recovering. He didn't know what I had done to my face. To him, I was just his sister who had taken a long-term job abroad. Sometimes I look in the mirror. I still see Eleanor. This face will stay with me forever, as a reminder that freedom has a price. But my eyes, there is no longer that empty doll-like shine in them. Julian is now in a facility for the criminally insane. He tells everyone his wife rose from the dead and robbed him. No one believes him. After all, I am Eleanor Whittaker, a philanthropist and widow, who narrowly escaped a tyrant husband. I won the game. I broke the most complex code in the world, the code of human obsession. But sometimes, when the light flickers for a moment in my new home, I flinch. I think I hear Aura's whisper, "Good morning, Chloe." I close my eyes and smile. My name is Kate. And today, it's going to be sunny.